Time for sound design. In this video, I'm going to use the randomize function in an instrument rack in Ableton Live to create very quickly very many textures from a sample. So if you have seen any of my previous videos, you know that I'm kind of obsessed with textures, creating textural sounds, lo-fi sounds, loops, instruments, as you can see from some of the videos here. And I like to take an instrument or a sample and process it with effects to create these kind of textures manually, basically. In today's video, I'll show you a method how you can use the randomize functionality in Ableton to very quickly create many textural loops. And this is ideal if you want to create your own sample pack, or you just want to have sounds for your own sample library, that whenever you create music, you have a stack of sounds that are original and yours and that you can pull from. Let's dive into Ableton and I'll show you what I came up with. So just as an example, I took this one synth note as a starting point and then I put it into my sampler device and I came up with this. So this is a really nice texture and it's just with sampler and some effects. So let me show you how I did that. As you can see here at the bottom, I have a sampler with this sample of the Moog brass note. Then I added a pitch shifter, a redux, a delay and a reverb. And the magic here is to put all these devices in an instrument rack. So you can either do Command G or Control G. Then you have to map some of the parameters. So what I did here on the first row is I mapped the filter frequency. So if you go to Filter tab, the filter frequency and the resonance of sampler, also the filter drive and the attack and the decay. And mapping these parameters is very easy. You do click here on map, you select a parameter and then you say map and then you have it. And now it can also control the sustain. I'm just going to remove that for now. And when you're in mapping mode, you see here on the left the macro mappings. You can adjust the minimum and the maximum range. So for some of the parameters, you definitely want to do that. So for instance, above the attack and decay, I limited it to 5 seconds because the decay can go up to 60 seconds and the attack to 20 seconds. So that won't be necessary. And resonance I did up to 80. So that's a good thing to remember. At the second row of parameters here at the bottom, I mapped the effect. So for the pitch shifter, I did the coarse pitch and the dry wet. So it's this one, 5 and 6 here. For the redux, I did the sample rate and the bit rate. For the delay, I took the delay time and the feedback. And for the reverb, I did the decay time and the dry wet as well. So now having 5 sampler parameters and 8 effects parameters, so 13 parameters in total mapped to this instrument rack, I can now just press the random button here on the top and it will create a random setting for these parameters. So now the trick is just to click random, hear what comes out, and if you like it, save it, and if you don't like it, just click random again. And you have to do this a few times because not everything that comes out of it is gold. And of course, you can still adjust the parameters after you click random. That's not a problem. So let's say we want to keep this. What I would do is duplicate the track, Control D or Command D, and then freeze the track. And after freezing it, I would flatten it to audio. So now we have this texture in audio loop. And now I would just export this audio loop, add it to my library of sounds, and the next time I'm going to make a track and I want some kind of textural loop, I have this one ready. So that's the idea. Let's create a few more loops, first with this sample and then also explore some other samples. So going back to the But of course, if you now load a different sample into sampler, you create a whole different kind of territory of possible texture. So let's find a different sample and let's do this again. So the sample I used is these synth notes, but let's go to maybe drums and find this drum loop. Okay, this doesn't really work. Let's find another sample, maybe something from a guitar, Western guitar. So the sample is this. It's a guitar chord, and then pressing random, you get this. So this is pretty nice, pretty soothing, kind of a droney kind of vibe. Definitely want to keep this. So for the second example, the guitar sample, the sample sounds like this. It's a major chord, and then the first texture. This one is really nice. And this one as well. Similar, but and they're all variations. Sometimes you can really hear still the original sample quite well. Sometimes it goes really off. And of course, it all depends on the sample, but also what kind of parameters do you map. So for instance, here I had a redux. So if you lower the sample rate a lot, you get that kind of crunchy digital sound. So if you don't like that, then don't use a redux. But I think for textures, that really works well. And you can also limit the range, that it doesn't go too low. So you don't get too much of that digital crunch in your samples if you don't like it. That's it for this video. The idea is to very quickly create variations, and of course they're just variations, so they're not completely new things, but I found that it's a very easy way and very quick way to generate loops. If you like textures but also sampled instruments, I have a sample pack on Gumroad with 50 sampled instruments, often very textural and a bit lo-fi, so go check that out, link in the description. Let me know how you use the randomize function in Ableton or in any other software, how you use random in your compositions. And as always, see you in the next one.